I'm sure. It's so sad. The whole result is so sad.
Yes, we are now online, so we can start the webinar. We decided to have this meeting to describe the Italian election and also the Italian situation after the election and what is possible for Italy, but also for Europe, this swift to the right. As you see, we have a huge amount of people that don't go to vote. And this is one of the biggest results, is the biggest large number of people that don't go to vote since we have election in Italy. So this is one topic that also we will discuss in the webinar. I think that we will start with a brief description of the numbers that we had and how the electorate moves in the framework of the political field. And Alessia will give us this overview. And then we will ask Loris Caruso, that is a professor to the University of Bergamo, to give us also a social dimension. It's not just the election, but it's how the Italy is changing in the social field. So, of course, we will have a lot of space to have a question and to have answers. We have now Roberto Musacchio that it's leading with me the webinar, and of course, as political figure, is able to give us the answers that we need, or you may need. So let's start with Alessia and give the floor to her in order to present how the voters
move. Thank you, Roberto. Now I try to share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. So, Italian political election output. As we said something before, it's something that didn't come from nowhere, because the data was in some ways a good prediction of what happened at the election. But still, it's not good, because there was a surprise in reality. That was the percentage get from Salvini's Lega Nord, under 10%, and that means that maybe he didn't get the Ministry of Interior as he wished. So the real problem now is that Fratelli d'Italia is a party that had no institutional experience, and neither Giorgia Meloni has. Their only experience in the government was from 2008 to 2011 as a Ministry of Youth Policies. So it's a very little ministry in Italy, and is not something that can happen now in a country such as Italy, that has a condition and a crisis that is coming from all of Europe, with the energy situation crisis, the Ukrainian war. So there are a lot on the table, and Fratelli d'Italia has no government experience to deal with. So now I'll show you the data that Roberto anticipated, but let me say just a little thing about the Partito Democratico, the biggest force in the center-left coalition, that gets less than 20% of the election. So this means that now the party is in crisis and probably will face a split or a refundation, the creation of new political force. And also the problem with the Partito Democratico is that they never win in the elections, really. They win in 2006 and in 2013 with Bersani, but it's not a real victory. But still, they were in the government from 10 years. So there is a problem of representation in Italy. In this map, you can see the colors of the results by city. The blue one is the center-right coalition. So as you can see, it's all blue. Yeah, there are a lot of blue. There is a lot of blue. The yellow one is the Movimento 5 Stelle, and the red is the center-left coalition. So this is the map of Italian elections output. I mean, not so good. And now the movements of the electors, as Roberto anticipated before. These are all data from an agency of predictions and analysis in Italy named SBG. And this is the Fratelli d'Italia situation, the Giorgia Meloni's party. As you can see, half of the voters come from the center-right, and 17% is coming from Movimento 5 Stelle. That there is, I think, an important thing to underline, that Movimento 5 Stelle has a split not long before the elections. So the electorate, the historical electorate of Movimento 5 Stelle also is split between the official party and the Di Maio party, that run for a different in a different coalition of Movimento 5 Stelle. There were two different parties, so also the electorate either split or vote something else, as in this case, where in which 17% of the electors come from Movimento 5 Stelle. So the great element in this panel is that at the political election of 2018, Fratelli d'Italia gets 4.3% and now 26.1%. A huge incrementation in the data and in the elections and in the results. And in the states, the 16% of the electors had already voted for Fratelli d'Italia before, the 50% coming from the center-right, with the 30% of them that voted Lega before, and 20% voted Forza Italia, Berlusconi party, and then 34% coming from other areas of the political landscape, with 17 from Movimento 5 Stelle, as we said before, and 17% didn't vote before. So there is a 17% of abstention that now had given the vote to Fratelli d'Italia and Giorgia Meloni. Speaking of Lega, is the opposite way from Fratelli d'Italia, because at the political election of 2018, 17.4% voted for Lega, and now only the 8.9%. And the four electors of Lega from 2018 on 10, 8 on 10, are now voting for Fratelli d'Italia. So in a specific way, 29% of the electors had confirmed its preference to Lega Nord, 40% voted for Fratelli d'Italia, and 31% had voted outside the center-right or didn't vote at all. Coming to Forza Italia, also in this case, in the political election of 2018, they get the 14% of the preferences, and now only the 8.1%. So what we can see from the movement in the center right is that a lot of electors that in 2018 choose either Forza Italia or Lega now choose Fratelli d'Italia. So there is a lot of internal movement in the center right. There are a lot of people that are coming from other parties. Sorry. So in the specific, 36% of the electors that voted for Forza Italia in 2018 have now confirmed their preferences to Forza Italia. 37% voted for Fratelli d'Italia, and 27% didn't vote for the center right or didn't vote at all. 19% didn't vote at all. This is the Movimento 5 Stelle situation. And the thing about Movimento 5 Stelle is that was some kind of party of protest party, people that were not didn't feel represented from the classical parties voted from them. But it's not the thing in these elections. There are a lot of people that didn't vote at all, didn't vote for Movimento 5 Stelle in this election, but didn't vote for any other party. They didn't come to vote. So 30% of the electorate in 2018 that had voted for Movimento 5 Stelle in 2018 have now confirmed their vote to Movimento 5 Stelle. 14% voted for Forza Italia. 10% voted for a party from the center-left coalition. For 7% they voted PD, and 3% other parties from the center-left. And 46% voted other parties or didn't vote at all. 10% they voted for other parties, but 36% of Movimento 5 Stelle electors from 2018 didn't vote at all in this election. So this is the problem Roberto was speaking at the beginning. There is a lot of abstention in these elections, and it is a problem also for representation, because if a great part of the electorate didn't go to vote, the output of the elections and the victory of a political party is not so represented. So this is it. Lastly, Partito Democratico, as we said before, it's a little better than 2018, but not better for. It's not enough to be so satisfied and to sleep well. So this is it. 58% of the people that voted for PD in 2018 voted for PD, and 37% voted for another party of the center-left coalition or didn't vote at all. 17% didn't vote at all. So I think maybe it's enough.
Thanks, Alessia. Now a description of what kind of society we live in, and it's not easy according with the electoral elections and what is the political field in Italy. But I don't know, maybe we can collect some question to this and then go to Loris, or you want to listen? Connie, please.
Is it possible maybe some question to ask in this moment, because also maybe some answer we get in the explanation what is going on in the society. But concerning the numbers, I would also at first many thanks, Alessia, for your presentation. It was excellent to hear. I have the question to the non-voters, and you show it more or less also in your data. Could you make the same slide more or less? who are the non-voters? Also I have seen concerning the last, the Partido Democrático, the non-voters not in the last election, in the election before were more or less 17%, and in this election 10%. But who are the non-voters, more or less, if you see this? Is it possible to make such kind of mosaic for us to make it more clear?
I can give you all the slides from email, because I get them from a big research from this SVG company. So I can give you all the thing, but I need just 1 minute to get it on the PC. But I have no exhaustive one slide about the non-voters. They are divided for age, for gender. So it's a big explanation. I don't know, maybe at the end we have time to see them. Yes, because there are a lot of slides. So
thanks. So yes, thanks a lot. Give the floor now to Loris.
Yes, good morning, everybody. And thank you. But the first thing I would say is about the social segments that voted for the parties, no? Because it's quite interesting also some similarity among the Five Star Movement and Fratelli d'Italia. So the first issue is who voted for them, no? Mostly in the social fields and among the social groups. Both have a majority of their votes, or better, the higher segment of their voters is among the less educated people. No, this is the first date. The second date is quite different, but not so, but quite similar characterization of the social, of the voters on the social point of view for what regards their social condition. Fratelli d'Italia is highly voted by people of the medium or low medium classes, while the Five Star Movement is highly voted mainly among people of the lowest classes. So most medium classes for Fratelli d'Italia and most lower classes for the Five Star Movement. And the picture that Alessia put is quite interesting, no? Is in the South. So Five Star Movement in the South and among the less educated classes. This is a social characterization. I think that Fratelli d'Italia is most a cross-class party, because also a lot of autonomous workers and shopkeepers voted for them. So we can't say that popular classes in Italy vote for the radical right. This is not true. No, there is a popular vote, but there is also there are also votes from the entrepreneurs and from the middle classes. But there is some characterization in a popular sense, while in the case of the Five Star Movement, this popular characterization is stronger, no? As it is quite strictly stronger. So this is a first date. Also, if we look at the professions and the occupations of the workers, no? So the most popular vote in Italy was not for the radical right, because also in Europe there is a big debate, no, about who votes for the radical right. In the case of Italy, we can say that popular classes became fascist, so, or authoritarian, or they prefer the radical right. The attitude by popular classes in the last elections in Italy, so in the last 10, 12 years, was to vote mainly for the party or for the leader that seemed to be something new or something different from who has been governing since that moment. And so popular classes mostly voted for Matteo Renzi, for Beppe Grillo, and now for Giuseppe Conte, or for, to a certain extent, Giorgia Meloni. But there is not an identification between popular classes and the radical right, no? there is some identification between popular classes and non-vote in the first place, and then the five-star movement. And I would say particularly with the personal figure of Giuseppe Conte. No? This was very, very important in these elections, because who voted for the five-star movement did not used to say, I'm going to vote for that party, but used to say, I'm going to vote for Giuseppe Conte. So it is a strong personal characterization. No? So we could ask ourselves why. No? First of all, as Roberto was saying, a point is the social situations, social situation in Italy. No? In Italy, since 2005 and to 2021, so in these 16 years, poverty tripled. If in 2005, in Italy, there were the 3% of the population which was poor. Now they are the 10%, so tripled. Particularly among the people from 18 to 35 years, this percentage passed from the 3% of 2005 to the 11% of today. So this is the age from 18 to 34 in which most people voted for Fratelli d'Italia or Movimento 5 Stelle. No? So we have a social point, a social characterization. The unemployed mostly voted for the five-star movement. And in Italy, we also have a particular situation for what regards dependent workers. So salaries are very low, and we have 1 on 3 dependent workers, so million of workers which earn less than 2,000 euros per year. They are 1 on 3 workers. So we have a lot of poor workers. No, this is the social context. I think there is also a political context, because I wouldn't read these elections as many journalists do as an anti-system vote. In Italy, we do not have, or we have a weak anti-system vote. The real anti-system votes, such as the parties such as the radical left, unfortunately, did not gain a lot of votes. But we have a strange mixture, I think, for what regards the most voted parties, among being, on the one side, parties of the system, and to be perceived as also as anti-system parties. It is a mixture in the same party. So, for example, Fratelli d'Italia, as also Alessia was saying, is a system party, no? Because it is a party that is in the area of government since it was born, no? With ministers, and a party which was in the coalition with Berlusconi when he was the head of the government. So it is a party of the system on the political point of view and also on the social point of view, because also in the party's manifesto, there are not issues or proposals, or it is not characterized by this aspect. There are not issues oriented to popular claims or popular needs and so on. It is a party that made an electoral campaign talking on the economic issues and social issues, a mainstream language, no? So I think that maybe it can not even be called a populist party. Fratelli d'Italia is not a populist party, or it is not its main characterization. And now, in these days after the elections, so while Giorgia Meloni is preparing her governor, Giorgia Meloni is working with Mario Draghi, not only on the composition of the government, but also on its future contents and decision. No, so they are discussing about the fact that, and there is also some counterposition between Fratelli d'Italia on the one side and Lega and Forza Italia on the other, because Giorgia Meloni seems to want 10 or 12 technical figures in her government, so not non-political figures. No, in some sense, it is as the Draghi government goes ahead with other means, no, to some extent. So it is a system party, but it was not in the Draghi government. So it was formerly at the opposition of the government. No? So it can be perceived as a party of the system, so not as a radical party saying and doing radical and dangerous things, but a party that we can imagine what it will do once in the government, and at the same time it has something, or can be perceived as being something of the anti-system party. The same is for the Five-Star Movement. No, we don't have a protest vote, because the Five-Star Movement was, as we know, the party which most deputies and senators had in the former parliament, and was the party that in the former parliament was always in the government. No, so it has been 5 years governing this country. In the last 2 months, they said, but now we don't like anymore the Draghi government, and maybe we go away. But they were pushed away more than they that went away from the government. No? But it was born as an anti-system party. In the last 5 years, it has not been anymore an anti-system party. So, but at the same time, being in the government and the big force in the last parliament, this party approved some social decisions, some issues that now a lot of people voting for them want to defend, no? Such as the basic income, and mainly this one, because this was maybe the mainly, but to some extent also the only big social decision by the governments led by this party. No? So the fact of having been put away from the government by the Partito Democratico, and of being the author of this issue of the basic income, may make possible that they are perceived also as an anti-system. But it is not a clear message by the electorate. No, it is not a message that supports the mainstream and the system, but it is not even radically an anti-system message. It's a mixture between these two flows. No. And I think that this depends from not only of social causes, but also of political and cultural causes. No? If you want to understand Italy and the vote, as usual, we have to use Gramsci. No? It is not one sector of the explanation, but there is society, there is the economy, there is culture, and there is politics. For what regards politics, and I'm going to finish with this for the moment, why didn't, for example, the radical left, no, intercept some of the social discontent? First of all, it is now 14 years that the Italian radical left doesn't succeed in doing this work, no? In saying, trust us because we understand social problems and we have a solution for that. And of course, the new coalition of the radical left, Unione Popolare, was prepared too late, no, for this election. But I think that this is not the only problem. If the analysis that I was talking about has something true, I think that the radical left in Italy, differently from the radical left in other countries, is not perceived at the moment to be enough strong to be nor the system, in the sense of not being so strong to build a government, to be the center of a government, and not strong to be the anti-system, no? Too weak in both directions. So I think that we are, and this vote and this mixture between system and anti-system, I think that shows that this is the fact. We are in Italy, but maybe not only in Italy, in a period of crisis that leads the voters to ask for something that is at the same time radical and trustable. Not so much radical and not so much mainstream, no? And the radical left is in the middle of these two positions and too weak to cover both these positions, no? The result was an electoral campaign, and I think also a post-campaign without hope. A nihilist, no? I would say electoral campaign characterized by nihilism, in the sense of the lackness of hope. The parties didn't make the electoral campaign raising hope or promises. Giorgia Meloni led the electoral campaign saying that she was the better to lead the situation, but not to change the situation or to change it radically. The Five Star Movement and Giuseppe Conte led their electoral campaign not saying we are going to something new, but mainly saying we have to defend the conquests that the Five Star Movement made in the last parliament. So we have to defend the basic income, and we have to build also new things, a new social agenda, a new environmental agenda. But it was not so much characterized by promises and hope for something, no? So the tone, and maybe also this is one of the causes for the great abstentionism, was characterized by this tone of nihilism that now is here with us more than before, no? So we will see what kind of government will emerge and how much it will go ahead, how much time, how long it will work. I think that the risk is that differently from the center-left and the Partito Democratico, the right in general, but particularly in Italy, is very, very, very concentrated always on the maintaining of its consent. So I think that Fratelli d'Italia will govern trying to maintain its consent differently from the Partito Democratico that always governments trying to cancel its consent or being indifferent, no, to its ruin and cancellation. So it will be not so simple also the building of a big opposition to this government, while at the same time I feel that all the conditions for do it, to try to build a big opposition are absolutely present also on the social point of view. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Loris. Yes, I would love to ask Musacchio to give also an overview at the European level. What does it mean, Giorgia Meloni in the government for Europe? And I think that Roberto can explain.
Yes, my English is not so good like Alessia and Loris, but my idea is that we have a new majority in Europe. With the war and with the new agenda of the NATO 2030, we have an enlargement of the majority of Ursula von der Leyen. And in this new majority enter some state, for example, Poland, and also enter the radical right in the form that Loris explained to us. Enter in the same moment in Swedish, with the vote in Svezia, and in Italy with the vote for Giorgia Meloni. I heard the speech of Ursula von der Leyen for the state of European Union in the European Parliament. It was for me terrible, really terrible. Bellish and a sort of a Europe nation included in the Atlantic system without any idea of a diplomatic solution of the war, with the idea that is not necessary a diplomatic solution. For me, it was terrible. In this speech, Ursula von der Leyen had some words, many words, for the death of the Queen Elizabeth, that she present her a sort of hero of the Second War, and don't have any words for the death of Gorbachev, that was the inventor of the common house, the Europe common house. So I think that we have to reflect about this situation. Just a little thing concerning the concept of Loris of nihilism. I think that is a really big problem that we have in Italy, where the historical party of the left, the party of Gramsci, Italian Communist Party, transformed himself in a sort of part of the governance without any ideology that is not the Atlantic and the merchant ideology. This is a problem. This is a problem because was a very large party present in the conscience of the country. And this transformation, this party, changed the conscience of the country. This is the question for me. We have the paradox in this nihilist situation that we have the majority, the large majority of the Italian citizens that are against the war, but this position is not present in the vote. It's present in the opinion of the person, but is not present in the moment of the votation. This is the nihilism, also because the war is really a terrible situation now, in a terrible situation now. Roberto, I hope to be
yes,
able to.
Well, this is perfect. I think you gave us a lot of things to think about. So if you, now we can open the floor to question, of course, and to your evaluation if you want to have it. So if you want to speak, just hands, put your hands on. Marga, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I have some questions, too many. So maybe I will make 3 first, no? And after that we can go deep, no, for Loris, for Alessia, and for the two Robertos. No? The first question is that the best analysis I read about the Italy elections said two things. One, as you said, that it's not a surprise. It's a surprise because Meloni and Fratelli d'Italia is very aggressive, no? But in terms of blocks of the right and the left, thinking when the abstention, it's not so dramatically different like the previous one. It's a question for you, just to see. And also, thank you very much, Alessia. It helped me a lot to see that from the Democratic Party, there is no transfer of votes for the far right, which is very important, I think, for a left perspective also to see that. But my question is that the best analysis I read is related with what Loris said about the economic decline of Italy in the last 3 decades, and watching these material conditions of the living of the people as the central role also for the way they vote. And I like it a lot in the sense that we are going to face now a narrative saying that the working class, the poor are voting for the far right because they are upset with the situation, which is not exactly true. And we need to analyze it very well, because on the contrary, we see in the UK the opposite situation, that with the Tories are declining and the Labour Party is going down. Anyway, my question for you then is two things. These two Italies, the North and the South, what is your perspective in the narrative of the far right and Meloni now in the government? If you see that there is some break there. The question for me is, which was the main, in your opinion, message from Fratelli d'Italia to win this election? Is something related with a melancholy of the past of the great Italy in the 80s being the leader of the industrial sector? Is something like this or not? This is my fair round of questions for you. And Thanks. The trade unions, the position of the trade unions, of course.
Yes. We collect more questions. We have now Connie, Angelina, and Gael, and then we give the floor to...
I think Angelina was first.
Sorry. First, Angelina.
Yes, well, my question addresses both of you, and of you can reply. What would you think is and was the main political division for these elections, or for nowadays Italy, that made people to address like this dilemma with this or that electoral choice in these elections? And therefore, what is the main weakness of the... I totally get your argument that the radical left in Italy could not present itself neither as like a strong mainstream that can lead the government, nor as a strong anti-systemic option that could be like the opposition, a strong opposition. I totally get it. What is the main weakness you believe in terms of what we have not grasped in terms of the political cleavage in Italy, that we cannot respond to that? Thanks.
Thanks. Connie?
Good question, Angelina. I had the same. I would also to ask concerning Fratelli d'Italia. You spoke that she will have, she is in contact with Draghi, and she will have as minister a lot of technical ministers. What is a political project of Fratelli d'Italia when in such way it's so many technical things? The second question is concerning the 5 Stars movement. If I have seen correct, they lost the right-wing voters to Fratelli d'Italia, 17% or so, also a high number. What does it mean for the 5 Stars movement? Could it be a new center-left project in this if they lost so many voters? And also one question concerning the Partido Democratico. You spoke about this maybe split or what kind of reformulation of Partido Democratico could be possible? It's for me completely unclear. Last question, the question of nihilism. I think it's really interesting to hear such a new understanding of or trying to understand the situation. But what could be behind? Is it the question of the losses of truth concerning democracy? Also, is it a kind of anti or undemocratic development of the political system? Is it against only the party, or is it against the whole democratic system? Thanks.
Thanks. Good question. And Gaël. Merci de vous être.
Voilà, bonjour. Hello, sorry. Yeah, I had question also about the political project of Fratelli d'Italia. In the 20s, the idea with Mussolini, there was it played the role of modernizing the Italian capitalism, because you had differences between agrarians and the industry. Now in Italy, you have this split between big companies and little companies. And there are some themes in the political project of Fratelli d'Italia, which may lead to think that they want to modernize Italian capitalism. And I wanted to know what kind of project there is behind, because there is this idea of nationalization of some core industries, core infrastructures. Why is the right-wing party saying that? So why they are doing that? And also, for ages, the left wing has said that in France, that we should have an alliance with Spain, with Italy, with Greece, to change Europe, maybe to be less dependent on decision from Germany and the interest of German capital. We see it with the price of electricity, which is based on gas now. What is the European project of Meloni? Does she want to, will she play a role for maybe Democratic Party was saying everything is good with Brussels. Will there be more tension in that case? And also, is the idea of presidentialization of Italy, with a president of Republic elected by the people directly, being the head of government, is it an authoritarian way of thinking, or it's a way to be more efficient to lead this capitalist modernization like that? And then last question is Terzo Polo, the Liberists. Do they have a future in this? Because they are making a lot of noise, but do they really have a strong basis on local level? Can they play a role in next years? I'm over.
Thanks. Okay. So a lot of questions to answer. I think that first of all, the Meloni project will be not so easy to achieve, because even in the right wing, there is differentiation among the role of Italy in Europe, the role of Europe in itself. So I would say that the situation is unclear, and there are also people that think that there would be not so strong government, and it would not be so easy, like already Loris says, that the right-wing government will be for 6 months, or longer than 6 months. So in this situation, what it's capable to maintain all the right wing all together, it's exactly the presidential election, and to turn this flag behind the fact that at the economical level, I think that the right wing was not able to change anything. The main slogan of the Meloni against the Democrats is the incapacity to maintain the industrial power and to make a gift to France and to Germany in the economical field. So this is my small remark now, but I give the floor to Loris and to Alessia and to Roberto to reply to the question. Loris, you go first.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions, for the many questions and difficult questions. First of all, Marta, for what regard the main message by Fratelli d'Italia to win these elections, right, Marta? This was one of the two. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that there was not, during the campaign, in the communication by Fratelli d'Italia, a very strong message, a single strong message. No? Meloni is known by the Italian voters mainly for being, such as the Lega, a party saying Italians first, no migrants, no more immigrants. We don't like so much Europe. But it is a vague message. There was not a very strong message, nor on a single issue. The main fact was that the votes were redistributed within the center-right. So the Lega went down, Forza Italia went down, and these votes moved to Fratelli d'Italia. Also because everywhere, but in Italy maybe more than in other places, the media are kingmakers here. So it is almost 2 years that the media, television, the main newspapers, are saying that Meloni will be the new premier. Meloni is rising. Meloni is the new Italian leader. Look how much Meloni became serious and trustable, and people can trust in her, and she's going to have a governmental face. No? So it is a redistribution of votes inside the center right and the right. And mainly the main block of votes came to her from Salvini, no? So it was a moving inside the right and not a triumph by the radical right. In French, they say dédiabolisation, no? For what regards Le Pen. In Italy, we had 3 years of dédiabolisation of Giorgia Meloni. So it was perceived, as I was saying, not as a radical vote for something disruptive, politically and social disruptive, but a vote of a person that considered to be a right-wing voter and think, okay, this time I am right-wing, so I will vote Meloni as a normal thing, no? More than for a single message. But I think that this was more or less the process. So it is a demonstration of what we always see, no? That who wins the election is not who takes votes from the other side, from the adversaries and from other coalitions, but it is the coalition who is more able to call their voters to vote, to make their voters vote. So the people, the center-right wing voters went to vote, and the center-left voters didn't go to vote. So mainly it was it is the scenario, no? So it is a changing of roles inside the right. In any case, it is very important that the leader is from the radical right, no? It is not indifferent, but it was not perceived by the voters as a disruptive vote. For what regards the South, so Marta was saying this is the cancelled issue of the Italian political panorama. Nobody talks of the South, about the South and to the South politically since 30 years, I would say. it is not a political subject, such as, and it is incredible, it is not a political subject, the mafia, no? The Camorra, they are not the Ndrangheta, so the big criminal organizations, nobody talks about them. So it is not a political subject, but the South, the people from the South observed who in the political, in the preeminent, in the more visible parties, who more than the others made some interests and defended to some extent the interests and the needs of the people from the South. So I think that this is the fact. I don't know if the 5-star movement will make the South become a political cleavage in Italy. At the moment, it is not a political cleavage because it is not described as a political cleavage, and nobody defends the South as the South. No, but the people from the South, a lot of people from the South, recognized the 5-star movement as the big party who, better than the others, can make their interests and can respond to their needs. Angelina, so for what regards the main issues of the electoral campaign, I go back to the first intervention, which was based on the theme of nihilism, because I know that it can seem incredible for people from other countries, but in the electoral campaign, we didn't discuss of nothing, but only on who will win, who will be allied with whom, what will Calenda do in his life, how is the relationship between Calenda and Renzi, does Letta and Renzi will come to some kind of agreement. So this was our electoral campaign. Which will be the ministers of Giorgia Meloni, how much votes will Giorgia Meloni obtain, and so on. Nothing. The only issue, a little bit, was the basic income. This was symbolically the domain of fight, of symbolical fight, in which the Democratic Party was not present, because it is not, as always, in favor or opposite to this to the basic income. It is something in the middle. No? Nobody understood, but they want it or not. They didn't want it, but they did not cancel it, but they nor defend it and not are opposite to it. So no, it was out. It was a symbolical fight between the Movimento 5 Stelle and the center-right, no? And the symbolical domain was, can social issue can be defended politically? So the adversaries of the basic income say, no, these are issues that do not have to go inside the political domain, while the 5-star movement, of course, defended it and was characterized and decided to characterize itself with the leadership of Conte as the political forces defended diffused social interests. No? It was also a strategic choice by Conte, because he knew that the free political space was on the left and not in the center, not in the right. So he made an intelligent electoral campaign in this sense. No? Today I was reading somewhere that Beppe Grillo maybe is not so happy for the discrete, not exceptional, discrete, because the Movimento 5 Stelle lost millions of votes, but it was less bad than expected, the result. A discrete result, we can say a good result. But Beppe Grillo maybe is not so happy because Beppe Grillo doesn't like so much Giuseppe Conte and was expecting a worse result to change the leadership in the movement. So also the future of the movement is not so certain. The weakness, Angelina, the weakness of the radical left about which political cleavage, about which cleavage. I think that I talk about us, the Italian radical left. We didn't succeed in the last years to go on the terrain in which political contestation and protest are determined in Italy. In Italy, in the last years, protest doesn't assume a direct social face. It has always been a mixture of political disaffection, of political protest, of political distance from the political class, and social issue. So we didn't succeed in translating social problems in a political language that was effective for the electorate. So we didn't gain this position of being perceived as a political force that defends popular interests, but is also accountable as a political force that can build a government, that can lead the country. So I think that the work to do is to start to link again a political discourse, social issues, and the cultural profile. No? We have not strong links in these three dimensions. But the situation is evolving. So social problems will be so hard then that a political force characterized by an attempt to respond to these social problems may have a future. Also, may have a future also if we'll carry out a true organizational innovation, because Italian radical left is perceived as too old on the organizational, communicative, and linguistical point of view, and symbolical also. I try to go faster. Cornelia and Gael, the political project by Fratelli d'Italia. I would say, I don't know if the others' impression about this, that we are in another, completely in another terrain with respect to the fascist tradition of modernization, which is a very interesting issue. No? I think that Fratelli d'Italia has nothing to do with that. No? They don't talk about nationalization. They don't talk about industry so much. They don't talk about the necessity to become bigger of the very little Italian firms. You know that Italy is characterized by this very big presence of little firms that can't become big. They don't talk so much also about the entire economic sectors that are going out of Italy, no? Are being brought from firms of other countries. So there is not even a nationalistic discourse about the economy and economic competition. No? It seems to me that Fratelli d'Italia is much more positioned on the issue of the defense of little Italy, and it is not a discourse that says let's make Italy great again, but it is more let's defend little Italy, no? And so the shopkeepers, the little firms, this is a lot the contemporary Italian right, no? That is, I think it is probable that they will make a lot of things, material and symbolical, against civil rights and against immigrants. I think that on the economic terrain, they will be in continuity with the Draghi style for some aspects, and characterized by this real or said, evoked defense of the little economy, I think, but we will see. If they will still have a manager in the future, because a lot of them are in jail or are under judgment. So we will see, because it is in the tradition of the Italian radical right, there was this thing of transparency, the rule of the law. But the rule of the law is, for what regards Fratelli d'Italia, that the half of their managers are under judgment for something. So it is out of their tradition. Yes, there was a move of some votes from five-star movements to Fratelli d'Italia, but because at the origin, the voters, the electorate of Movimento 5 Stelle was divided, no? Between people from the right, people from the left. Now they almost lose almost all their voters from the right, their right-wing voters that went before to Salvini, then to Giorgia Meloni. So the five-star movement is now voted from people from the left, and a lot of people that possibly could have voted for Unione Popolare voted for 5 Stelle. People for the center left, people who position themselves in the center, or people who do not position themselves, that they say we are nor left-wing nor not right-wing. So the right-wing voters are no more in Movimento 5 Stelle. There is very little passage. And I think that Cornelia was asking about where the Partito Democratico will go. I think that it is something like a mystic mystery. We don't know, because being the Partito Democratico a mystic mystery, also its future direction is a mystic mystery, and maybe if a God exists, he knows it, but we do not know. What we can see is that now nobody in the party is talking once again about issues, about the cultural profile of the party. They are talking about names. The next secretary will be this one or that one. This is younger, this is female, this is male, this is educated, this is less educated. But there is no, we can see what kind of debate they will do in their future Congress. No, a lot of observers are saying the Partito Democratico is finished. Maybe we'll go towards a crash, but we can say I don't think it will go towards a crash, because the Partito Democratico is not a party in Italy. It is a piece of the state in Italy. It is the state, the government. It is the elite, in the very sense of the meaning. No? So I do not know if Italian elites and European elites and United States elite will renounce to this big structure in the Italian state, which is very faithful, no, to these elites. So being the axis of this dialogue between elites, I think that the elites still need the Partito Democratico and still will save it, maybe exalting some new leader as the new leader for the future, as the media did with Renzi, and then with Zingaretti, not so much, but maybe they will try to save it in some way. The last thing, this discourse about the media, with respect to one of Gael's questions, also works a lot, really a lot, for the Terzo Polo, Calenda, Renzi. They would not exist without this, because Carlo Calenda was born in television, literally, on the political point of view. There is no rational reason for what this man is since 2 years every day at the center of the news, always, having had in the time the 2 or the 3% of the polls, 1, 2, 3, and be so bigly funded, no, by a lot of firms and private actors. So if the media want he to live again for a long time, he will live in some way. The same discourse is true for Renzi. No, Renzi as no more an electorate, but he is always at the center of the political debate. I don't know, they are there to make the left do not exist. So I think that all the things they will do in the future will have this mission, no? Everything can happen in the world, but the left in Italy do not have to exist. This is their mission, and they are prepared to go with the right, the radical right, the center, the sub-center, in order to realize this historical mission they have. Very last thing about the attitude of Fratelli d'Italia towards Europe. I think they will be really pragmatic, as the Lega has been. They will be opposite to the European Union, I think, on the issue of immigrants, but not on economic issues. Maybe sometimes just to try to be perceived as a nationalist actor, they will have some linguistical contrast with Europe, but concretely, I don't think that on the economic point of view they will have big issues of confrontations with that, because the Italian right is this thing, and the Lega too. When there are big economic things, they tend to adapt to reality. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Loris. I have to add one thing that was posed, that is the relation with the trade unions.
Yes, I want.
I think that before the elections, there was a push in order to ask to the trade unions to take position against Meloni. And this is not because the trade union, it's a real leftist position, but it's because part of the trade unions, part of the CGL, wants to support the Democrats as alternative to the right wing. But this is not in reality in terms of defending the right wings and the interest of the working people. So Maurizio Landini, the leader of the CGL, didn't take so clear position against Meloni and against the right wing, saying that we have to face the government that will be in charge to govern. So we will contrast them if there will be changes or choices against the workers. This is I would say not a bad position on my point of view, since that shows that the break between the workers and the Democratic Party, it's total now. I mean, it's real, the last step in this election that show this differentiation between working class and Democrats. So now I give the floor to Alessia if she wants to add some more, and then Roberto.
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. Of course, I'm not professor of any kind of social discipline, but I can add something very briefly from my 31-year-old women living in Italy. So as for the PD that you asked, PD is Partito Democratico is a party that born in 2007 and comes in a very, very long reformation of other parties. So the history of Democratic Party as a governmental force, as Laurie said before, is true because it's a stratification of other parties in history. And now maybe they could try to change another time to something different that can intercept the electors that are very disappointed from them. I don't know. Yes, there are a lot of names that are made right now for the next secretary of Partito Democratico. I heard about Elish Line, that is this girl from that now is the vice president of Emilia Romagna, center north region in Italy. That is Roberto, the microphone. We heard you. This girl, as I said, that comes from this center left list from the northern Italy, Emilia Romagna, Coraggiosa, and is very into the spotlight of politics right now because he's young, he's a woman, and maybe could be the polishing at the image of the Partito Democratico that they need now. So this could be a thing. And remaining on the female thing, I think that also the electorate of Giorgia Meloni, in some ways, as you asked, I think that you asked who voted for Giorgia Meloni and why. It's because a part of the Italian women are not intellectual women. They are not so educated. They are not so. They don't feel like a bourgeois women can represent them. So Giorgia Meloni comes from a very popular neighborhood in Rome, Garbatella, and she always say that she is one of the people, and she has no other job employees that are not political ones. So she was always in politics, and she advocates for people, she say that, at least. And as I just 1 second show you this data because I think it is very interesting about how women voted. As you see, this is the chart of the women vote. As you can see, 27% of women voted for Giorgia Meloni. This is the higher percentage. The 41% didn't vote at all. So maybe they said the 27% that go to the election day and say, yes, Giorgia Meloni maybe can change something for me, that I am a woman, that I'm not an intellectual one, that I'm not bourgeois. I'm maybe a woman that is a working mom, not sorry, is a house working mom. So they didn't have a job, they only stay in the house. So I think that she is a phenomenon in some ways. And for this time, she gets the job. I think that is not so, she is not so happy to have got to the job, because I don't know if you see her at the acceptance speech, the victory speech that she gave. I think that she was not so happy. So I don't know if the outcome is what she was hoping for. And let me see just a second what other things I want to say. Oh, about the media that the media, yes, there is a great problem about as Laurie said before, the media that are incensed Giorgia Meloni as a fascist, because a big part, a big part of the voters in Italy that voted for Giorgia Meloni seems very happy to identify themselves as fascist. So there is something that in Italy you can say, but not so much, and freely say that, yes, I'm a fascist. I mean, she said no, she was not a fascist, but we know that the historical career of Giorgia Meloni is very, 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 very far right. So, I mean, the evidence are not in her part, but there are a lot of people that are very, 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 very far right that were very happy to be represented in the government right now. So the Terzo Polo, Loris said before, but we we haven't to forget that Matteo Renzi comes from PD, from Partito Democratico. So there is a connection, and I don't know, maybe they have to change also, the Partito Democratico have to make a change not only from itself, but also from the terzo polo of Matteo Renzi. So I don't know, the mission is mystic, as you say, Loris, a mystic mystery about the future of Partito Democratico. So I don't know. If there is anything you want to say, please ask me. Ask more, please ask me, but I'm finished for now.
Yes, thanks a lot. I have also a question coming from the room for the audience, that it's not, maybe it's just a joke, because we always say it's a center right, but in fact there is no center in this right. So I think that you put the question in the right, Joseph. In reality, the center, it should be Berlusconi area in the mainstream, but we know that also there are some extremist position also in the center, so there will be no center at all in this parliament. So now I don't know if Walter just leave, so thanks to him to be there. And I don't know if Roberto wants to add.
Yes.
Something.
Something concerning the democratic question. Many question was relative at the democratic situation in Italy. I think my idea is that the main issues for the future government of Meloni should be the presidentialism in Italy, and also the presidentialism for Europe, the presidentialism for the little Italy that Lori speak about, and also for a Europe, nation of nations. I speak before of the speech of Ursula von der Leyen. Giorgia Meloni say that the European Union is not democratic because to be democratic may be more space for the state. And I think that the link between a new idea of Europe and a new situation in Italy shall be the presidentialism. Giorgia Meloni is the president of the party of the conservative reformists, with the Polish party, the conservative Polish party. It is not in the same group and the same party of Le Pen, for example. Is another party. And I think that she try the idea of Meloni may be that is necessary to pass from the bipolarism to the presidentialism. And for this way also to put the hands on the constitutional system in Italy. We just have had the changement of the constitutional system in Italy. At the local level, was the center-left that changed the local system of the authority, the local authority. We have now a very little representation in the region level of the political pluralism. We have in some region council with only 20 persons elected. It's incredible. And with the presidentialism system at regional level. For a presidentialist reform, I think that can stay also the terzo polo, that in this moment is able to move very, very quickly, very fast. One of the ideas of Mr. Letta was to destroy Mr. Renzi. And we have now that Mr. Renzi and Mr. Calenda are able to have an open discussion with the right. And the presidentialism may be the solution to change this type of bipolarism that we have had for a long period in Italy. Loris Caruso said before that Democratic Party is a part of the state. I think that we are at the end of this situation. Other party enter in the governance system, and the question that is necessary to vote the Democratic Party against Berlusconi, against Salvini, against Meloni is going to finish for me. It's the first time that was totally unable to have a successful electoral successful. Really is necessary to understand why we arrive at the election in this condition is not clear. I write an article about this. Is incredible. Mr. Letta split the coalition a few weeks before the election. We arrive at the election for a votation against the government of the Cinque Stelle. After that, many times we have had part of the majority that voted against singular issues. I don't know. Maybe the world system changed everything. And in the new assets of the war system entered the right with the passport by Washington and also by Brussels. And this is important because I don't know what is the future of Democratic Party. It's very difficult to understand what to do for them. It's important in this situation what is going to do the trade union. Roberto just said many important things, but this is for me the resolution point, because Landini, the CGL, decide to be in autonomous position, and this was good. But to have a social position is necessary to have also a social platform. Now they have not a social platform. And I think that is necessary also to be against the war system. And now we have a problem also with trade unions that are against the war, but enable to transform, to be against in a mobilization. And I think that is the crucial point for the future. We have to change the nihilism in alternative. The nihilism is when you can be against the war and to go to the election in coalition with who won the war. For me, is a part of the nihilism. And against the nihilism, that is the condition in which the system of war is building himself, is necessary to put on the table a really alternative. And I think that the movement against the war is now really necessary. We have the Pope that this week go to Assisi again against the war, but we need a democratic pacifist mobilization, and this is the crucial point for the future for me. In Italy and also in Europe, because we stay at the Europe level, I think that we have to put in the situation a new movement, pacifist movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto. Marga, raise your hand.
Yes, I think thank you very much for all your remarks. I learned a lot. So I think it's time to go to the question of the left. So I would like to ask you, about precisely this, the question of the radical left. So we see outside Italy, of course, two political parties, Lista Italiana and Popolare. In one hand, I'm not talking about the relationship between two of them. That's not the point. The point is, as Loris said, if the what could be the task of the main priority in the next month for a social left? Let's see if later it could be a political one, in order to confront not only the fascist government of Meloni, but also the situation, the economic situation. I mean, it's really very bad. I mean, I see all the data also in Italy, similar to Spain, with the inflation rate going 10%, with a winter, have no heater. People in Spain, assume in Italy the same, start thinking in not putting the heater the whole winter and debating in the houses. How do they? I mean, it's a real situation, So in my idea, Roberto, is in Transform Europe, that we like to link both, the question of the war and the question of the inflation for the working class, and how we are paying the cost of the war. It's not only a moral question, it also has material conditions of living people. So I see that the GGL is calling for demonstration the 8th of October, I think, but maybe, I don't know if it is a strong call or not. So my question is precisely this, is if you think these three issues, Loris, maybe come back to you, the development on a cultural or academic, I would say, I don't know if it was in your demand for the left also, a political project of course, and go deep into the process and in the conflicts that we are going to see, if it can be part of the solution to give out of this situation where the radical left have no representation in the parliament. It's an open question.
Yes, it is. Thanks a lot. I give straight the floor to Loris to answer. I have to say that Loris was deeply engaged in the process of Unione Popolare, and I think that he can also explain what are the situation with Unione Popolare. We born just 1 month in July, just 1 month to collect the signature to present the list. And this was not due for our fault, but due for the fault of the government that arrived just before the summertime. And for the first time, we had to vote not in the spring, but in the summertime. But I give the floor to Loris to explain what is the radical left's position, our project?
Yes, thank you. I was deeply involved, and I hope I will be. I hope that the attempt will go on. We all hope this. But firstly, a positive news in the sense that maybe not so deeply, but we were involved also in the former attempts of the Italian radical left. I have to say that I never saw what we are seeing now. Few voters, 400,000 voters, but all the messages that are coming to Unione Popolare through social or private messages, for the first time, I think, so coherently are gone. It was just the beginning. You have to go on. And so this is quite encouraging, In Italy, I think that there is not a destiny for the fact that there is not a left as to leg. It is not a destiny, no? So being not a destiny, it can be changed. Of course, there are historical reasons, the former biggest communist party of Europe, and so the inheritance of this party, the rise of the five-star movement that occupied the space that in other places occupied by Podemos, France Insoumise, and so on. But there are also our limits, no? Let's start talking about the people who were saying us, I like you, but I will not vote for you. The first thing is too much unsuccesses, no? Too much time without going in the parliament, without being actors of the political panorama, no? So the fact to be not perceived, as I was saying before, as a political force that can be at the center of the political debate, of the political action. The second issue is that Unione Popolare, of course, was born in July. It was born to hopefully to have a long life and not just to make the elections. This was a big mistake of the Italian radical left, of us in the last years, no? To make some electoral list some months before the election, assembling former political forces with a new name, a new symbol. Then the result was no good. So this experience was finished. And then you wait for years, and then you wait for the new elections, and some months before you make a new symbol, a new name. So we arrive at this election with the 40% of people that didn't know of the existence of Unione Popolare, no? And the third thing is that I think this is a personal opinion, of course. The third thing for which the people said, I will not vote for you, but for example, I will vote for Movimento 5 Stelle, is that the important and generous political parties that are the main constituents of Unione Popolare, and so Rifondazione Comunista and Potere al Popolo, something also by radical left-wing voters are perceived as something too much identitarian, too much linked to traditional languages, to traditional symbols, and not so accountable on the real, on the true will to build something new. So I think that we have to work, and that this time we can really work, because a lot of people is saying us, go on, because the historical, general, geopolitical, environmental, climatic, social situation is so important, is so strong, is so hard, that it, of course, will have consequences on the political landscape and on the main political actors. No? We are seeing in the last year in Italy big bubbles, big political bubbles. No? So leaders and parties that are that gained the 3%. 2 years later, they are at the 20%. 2 years later, they are at the 1%. No, so this is our normality, but we will not live in normal times, but in exceptional times in which an old world is dying, and nobody knows which will be the new. So here we have to work. We have to work to innovate ourselves, to make, in my opinion, Unione Popolare become the real subject that have to go on for years, and in order to be recognizable by the people, with its issues, with its relationship with social groups and social forces and social organizations, with its priorities. The parties are now mostly known for one issue. I was saying it about Meloni before, no? People associate Meloni to Italian first, no immigrants. Stop. There are no other characterizing issues. I think that Unione Popolare must make a similar operation. You have to be recognizable for one, two very big and symbolical issues. Then you have your manifesto, you talk about a lot of things, you elaborate about a lot of things, but you have to become perceivable for something that is yours. No, it can be work, salaries, environment, but one main thing that which is you. Organizational innovation. The attempt to build something new that have to stay for years and to grow and to make local elections, regional elections, European elections with that name and with that symbol. In the context that we are going to live, I think that we have to work, that Unione Popolare can be a political force which talks with all the main faces that social opposition to this government and to the consequences of this situation will have, to be a force that links social forces, that dialogues with a lot of different social forces. And I think that if we do these works on the social, the political, and the cultural point of view, we will go on, and I think that we can also grow once, finally once.
Yes, thanks. I don't know if Roberto wants to add something. Zacchio? If it's not the case.
The microphone, yeah.
Yes, thank you. I agree with Loris Caruso, but the particularity of Italy is the situation of post-communist Italian party. For a long time, the resistance against the end of the Italian Communist Party was enough to be able to say in the parliament, to be also in the social conflict. I think that now is finished. And so it's very difficult to have a new start with new force, with a new ideological system. So this is the question. It's open from a long time, and this is our problem, and it's necessary to resolve the question. Just this. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to thanks all of you to be here and to discuss with us the Italian situation. It's, of course, it's a process, so we will see in the next steps and the next days what will be the future of the government and the creation of the government and the steps of the government. So I think there will be space for us to talk about these issues again. I think that what is happening in Italy, more or less, it's something that as European we have to deal, because there are similarities and differences, of course, but I see more similarities than others. I saw now that Connie raised the hand, so I give the floor to Connie.
Also at first, many thanks from my side. I'm sure also in the name from Marga and all my comrades around me. And what I want to say is two things. At first, some years ago, it was in 2008. Yeah, the radical left was increasing, also in this moment. but it was unclear. It was an open situation. Is this possible or not to increase in such way? And we invited a party research from Germany. He was very, very famous. Walter was his name. And we asked him what we should do to be successful. And he told us, if somebody wake up you in the night and you ask these people, what is the idea from Unione Popular? Then he has to, in this moment, to say 3 things immediately. And if you arrive such situation, you wake up the people in the night and the people know 1, 2, 3. That is the identity, more or less, a concrete project was the message behind. So, and I think the way you see in which situation we are in this time, yeah? Also, we are for a long time successful. But I think we are staying in the same moment. We have to see what is our task as a social power. And in this moment, I would say, yes, we have the possibility, of course, and so many things changing. But we have the duty to go this step. We have the responsibility. And the Italian left, I wrote it also, I'm writing an article about the European left in Europe in this situation. I have to give it up today in the evening. So, and some sentence about the Italian and Austrian leftists. We need both parties in the parliament because you are such European parties from your own history that is needed for the whole left, not only for yourself, is needed for the whole left, that you have a strong parliamentary left-wing parties, yeah? That is needed for the people in Italy and is needed for the people in the European left as a whole. And so I hope you have a lot of power after this defeat. And I hope you give us as a German in the critical, stupid situation to see, yes, it was a defeat, but we are going forward and we stay to our ideas and we have the same ideas, I think. It's a democratic socialism.
Well, this is no other words to add because I think this is a beautiful speech. So thanks again to all of you, and I'm sure we will keep in touch and we will see each other in other occasions. So again, thanks Loris, thanks Connie, Marga, and also the people that are watching us during the conversation that we had. Thanks to all of you, and I will keep, of course, this will be also recorded and put on the website and Transform Italia website. So again, thanks and ciao.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you to Alessia and thank you to Roberto Morea.
Grazie, grazie mille a tutti.
Thank you. Bye.